Welcome to Fight Club 24/7. My name's Johnny Rashman. Right, let's get straight into it. Devin Haney is the new undisputed lightweight champion after defeating George Kambosos by unanimous decision in Australia. Right. I'm not going to say I told you so, but I told you so. I told everyone as soon as the fight was announced, right, that Devin Haney will comprehensively win this fight. I said it, look at my last video. I said Devin Haney's jab will win him the fight. He'll bust him up with a jab. And that's exactly what happened. And I just couldn't understand the so-called boxing experts, even a lot of fans pre-fight, just calling this a 50-50 fight. I couldn't understand it. I think they were missing a serious trick with Devin Haney. Right? Devin Haney's got superior boxing skills. He really has. He's a special fighter. He really is. If we're looking at the fight, was it the gladiatorial battle some of us envisioned? Not really, but it was just a masterclass. It really was. Now, you've got to understand, boxing isn't about knocking everyone out in blood, guts and thunder. Yes, we all love that. We all love the battles, right? And there's a marketplace for that. But it's called the sweet science for a reason, right? That's what it's called, the sweet science. And Devin Haney displayed that last night, right? It was an absolute masterful performance, right? I can't tell you how hard it is what he actually did, right? Because it might look easy on TV. You might just think, oh, he's just throwing a jab and that's it. But there's certain body mechanics that is world class, that is born out with repetition and years and dedication to the sport. And that's just little steps back, little feints, right? Little body movements, throwing that jab. The way he throws that jab is world class. I mean, if you look at conventional boxers, they'll have the guard up there and they'll throw the jab. And that's how you taught how to throw a jab. You there, bring the hand back to the chin. But elite fighters, they'll throw it from the waist. You see Tyson Fury, so you can't read it. They'll throw it from the waist and come up like that. They won't just go like that. They'll come up with it. They'll screw it. They'll double it. They'll treble it. You know, there's so many variations. And an elite fighter will use a jab all fight, right? You look at the best fighters in history. They've all got a phenomenal jab. If you don't have a jab, you will not be an elite fighter, right? It's as simple as that. But it was just masterful. It really was. He was an artist in there, Devin Haney. He just created a picture that he wanted you to see, right? And that's what he painted. It was a stunning, stunning performance. And I see a lot of people saying Kambosos wasn't a great fighter and he was never a good fighter and all this, but they weren't saying that pre-fight. they fucking weren't. Most people saying this was a 50-50 fight. And that was your general consensus. Now, Kambosos is a world-class fighter. He is. He's proved that. He's competing with world-class fighters. He's just not elite, right? And when someone is better than you in a boxing match, right, there's not really a lot you can do. There's an old saying that hard work beats talent if talent doesn't work hard. And that is so fucking true. A lot of boxers out there who are so talented, but they just won't put that work in, right? And if you're up against a fighter and you're the same level, but they work harder than you, you'll lose that fight, right? But if you both work hard, what will win you the fight is ability, is talent. And Devin Haney is just the superior boxer. Kambosos just didn't know what to do. He just couldn't break that distance. You looked at him and he was just so hesitant because every time he was coming forward and trying to let his hands go, he was being busted with a jab. And that jab wasn't just a rangefinder, just to set things up. That was stopping you in your tracks. It was like a right hand. It was a hard jab. And he just couldn't time that jab. He just couldn't get past it. He just couldn't get his shots off. And it was just, like I say, it was just a masterful performance. I mean, you can look, some people may look at that and may think, why didn't Kambosos get in close? And even as Corner was saying, let your shots go. But like I say, when someone is better than you in the boxing ring, there's really not a lot you can do. There's not, because it might look easy. You might say, throw your punches. But you've got to understand, when he's throwing his punches and committed, he's open to being counterpunched. And Devin Haney is a sharpshooter. He really is. But he basically won the fight on the jab. It was sort of like Klitschko and Fury. again, that wasn't a barnstormer, but it was a masterful performance from Tyson Fury that night. And that's what elite fighters can do. They can literally win a fight on the jab. And I said this was going to happen, and it didn't surprise me. I was a bit surprised that Kambosos didn't have any success, because I did think at some stage of the fight he will let his hands go and it could catch fire, but it never did. The judges' scorecards, some of them had it a bit close. It was a complete shutout, right? You're struggling to give Kambosos rounds, you really are. People can look at punch stats, but I only look at punch stats if it's a close fight, because they can be deceiving. It's like in football. It's like you could have a defensive midfielder, right, who's never gives the ball away, right? And his pass accuracy can be great. But if you compare that to a playmaker, their accuracy might not be as good because they're putting dangerous balls through. They're willing to commit. Whereas a defensive midfielder will just pass it along here, there, very nice, very nice. They're not willing to take chances. So it's sort of like that in boxing. You can't really take into the stats. You have to look at how someone's controlled the fight, right? The ring generalship. That's a big thing in boxing. And Kambosos just couldn't dictate the fight. It was all on Haney's terms, right? Haney slowed the pace down, right? That would have been a plan. The crowd was as flat as a pancake, right? It wasn't, it was a fantastic occasion, but it wasn't like a Manchester crowd or a crowd in New York or Mexico. Do you know what I mean? It just went completely flat after the first few rounds. And that's what Haney would have banked on. He would have said, look, the plan would have been let's just control the fight with the jab, right? Let's bring the pace down and let's do things on his terms. And later on in the fight, you could see he was letting the right hand go more, right? And that would have been in the plan. But it was masterful. It really was. And you've got to put respect on Devin Haney. Look, I was one of those people who called him an email champion. Right, he never beat the man who beat the man. That's fucking changed, because now he has beat the man who beat the man, right? And as I said pre-fight, the thing that converted me wholeheartedly was when he accepted this fight. Because let me tell you something, 99% of fighters in his position would not have accepted the demands of a rematch and going to Australia. Tank wouldn't have done it, Garcia wouldn't have done it, Tio wouldn't have done it, Loma would have, but most of us wouldn't. They wouldn't, because they would have said, I'm the A-side, I'm this and that, I'm bringing them to America, I'm not going to leave my home of America. And the fact that he was willing to do that at 23 years of age, by the way, right, he ain't 28, 27 like Tank, 23. Right, what a future this guy has, what a fighter. Right, you've got to put some respect on this guy's name. And I tell you what, it's going to be hard to beat. It's going to be very hard to beat, because, believe me, I don't think he got out of first gear. I really don't. I think he was that concentrated and he just knew he had to get the victory that he never really went out of first gear, right? And that's the frightening thing. You put him in against Tank, Garcia, or these other fighters, you're going to see a different performance. When an elite fighter comes at him, you're going to see an even better Devin Haney, right? He will let his hands go, right? But this fight, I understood the game plan. It wasn't hard to work out. As soon as the rounds were mounting up, you knew this was good. You knew how it was going to play out. I've got a lot of respect for Kambosos, right? I know pre-fight I was very strong in my opinions. I say things with conviction, right? It's never any hate. It's never biased. It's never personal. But I'm willing to put myself out there, where a lot of media outlets won't. They'll say, this could happen, that might happen. I won't. I'll say, this is going to happen. I don't get it right all the time, but a lot of the times I will get it right, because a lot goes into this. It's not just a case of me predicting something. It's hours and hours of footage I go through. It's years of watching the sport. I've watched boxing since as far as I can remember. Right? I'm 33. Watched boxing probably since I was 6, 7. Right, I've seen everything. I've seen fighters, I've seen talented fighters, I've seen promoters, I've seen manufactured careers, I've seen fights where I thought this fight is going to win, but it's not happening because of the weight difference, or because a fighter's got a better jab, or he's got more skill. So all that has enabled me to give you a real assessment, right? And that's what I like. That's what I pride myself on. And again, I'm being involved with certain fighters, going in the boxing gyms, right? Looking at professionals train, looking how trainers act, it makes a big difference. So I like to think I can give you a real opinion. And I've got a few messages saying, you seem to be a bit biased with this one. Like, I love your content, but you're a bit biased. But it's not biased. It's just I never expected Kambosos to win this fight. I never expected it. Boxing, you can make it as complicated as you want. Now, this media outlet is for everyone. It's not just for hardcore fans. It's for people who just started watching boxing. It's for casual fans, hardcore fans, people who may have just started watching it last week, right? This outlet is for everyone. So I like to break things down in a digestible way, rather than just trying to get too technical, and it might go over some people's heads. I like to think I can break things down in a digestible way, like I say. And you can't get much more simpler than the jab. And before the fight, I said Devin Haney will win this fight on the jab alone. You see it on my videos, you can see it. He's got the better jab, and it wasn't hard to work that out. Kambosos doesn't have great head movement. And someone's got a really good jab, generally they'll win the fight. If you use the jab effectively, you can win the fight with the jab, right? You can't win a fight with a left hook, an uppercut, a right hook, a body shot, but you can win the fight on the jab, right? Yes, you might knock people out with those shots, but over a sustained period of time, you won't win the fight just by that. But you can win the fight just by a jab. It's so effective, it's so potent, and his jab is unbelievable. There's not many out there who has a better jab than Devin Haney. Tyson Fury springs to mind. Bud Crawford's got a great jab, but his jab is absolutely phenomenal. It really was, and it played out like I thought it would play out. I'm not surprised one bit. I'm not surprised one bit. I knew this was going to happen. What next now for Devin Haney? Now, you're looking at fighters like Tank and Ryan Garcia. They're not going to want to fight him because they know he's a fucking nightmare. He is. I know he's called a dream, but he's a fucking nightmare to fight. And you know what he's got? He's got that American swagger about him, that $1 million smile. He's got a little bit of Floyd in him, you know. He was so confident coming into the fight. So confident. And you know what? There was a thing from a tweet that Manny Pacquiao put out. And the thing that caught my eye with this is hard work that he mentioned with Kambosos. He didn't say skill level ability, he said hard work. And as I say, if both fighters work hard, then the game changer would be ability. And Devin Haney had that ability. And you want to see him in the big fights. Could you imagine him and Loma? Oh, what a fight that would be. What a purist dream. That would be Lomachenko and Devin Haney. It's not going to be a gladiatorial battle, but it would be one for the purists. And boxing is not just about knockouts, as I keep saying. It's the sweet science. You have to appreciate it. It might look easy on TV. You might think, oh, he's just winning a fight on a jab. He's not committing. But do you know how hard that is to keep a fucking undisputed world champion at bay just with a jab? There's so much that goes into that. I can't tell you. It's so difficult to be able to do that. Only elite fighters can do that. He's not fighting a bum, right? As much as I said Haney is the superior boxer, Kambosos is a world-class fighter. There's no denying that. He's just not elite. Just not elite. And styles make fights. I tell you what, if he fought Tank, he'd cause Tank a few problems. Tank would beat him, but it'd cause him a few problems. You know, so every style is different. You can't say, oh, because Haney dominated Kambosos, that Tank would just do exactly the same. It's completely different. Or Ryan Garcia or Lomachenko. Fighters styles are different to one another, right? You've got to take it differently. I just think Devin Haney now has proved what a special fighter he is, right? Because we all thought it, we all wondered, is he as good as they say he is? Because he has got a reputation, but he proved it. To go to Australia in front of 50,000 Australian fans and just be cold as ice, the mentality of the bloke at 23. This guy's 23. Walked in there like he was having a cup of tea. Honest to God, I'll make a cup of tea now, but I won't look as cool as that. Believe you me, there was no emotion on him. There was nothing, wasn't phased, didn't react to things. It was just a stone cold game plan, right? And ability in himself that he's going to win this fight. And that is what happened. So I'm delighted for him. I really am. And it's set. I think it's great for the lightweight division because, you know, no disrespect to Kambosos, but when he won that belt, I said to myself, he ain't going to be champion in a fight in 1 fight's time, 2 fights time, or 3 fights time. He's on borrowed time. He's done very well to get to where he's got to. As I say, he's drained every bit of talent out of him. You've got to give complete respect for that. You've got to put respect on his name. And the fact that he fought Devin Haney, my hat goes off to him, because he could have took an easier fight. He could have. He didn't. He wanted to fight the best. So you've got to give him complete respect. As far as the rematch goes, again, if you follow me, you'll know I'm very, very big on that. There shouldn't have been a rematch clause in this fight. There's not just this fight, any fight. Any fight that's regarding championship, any fight that's got belts on the line shouldn't have rematch clauses in. It's not. Go and win the fight, right? Then you won't need a rematch, right? Or if the fight warrants it, if there's controversy or if it's exciting, fine. But the fact there's a rematch clause now means we might have to see that again. Who wants to see it again? We don't want to see it again. I mean, I don't think it can happen. I really don't, because there's no way they're going to fill a stadium in Australia on the back of that performance from Kambosos. It ain't going to happen. It's not going to be commercially viable, is it? So I don't expect that to happen. I think Kambosos should just go back to the drawing board. You know, he's been an undisputed world champion. No one ever thought that would ever happen. Right? No one did. So he's already overachieved. Right? So he's good. And go back. Right? Maybe the pressure of him being maybe the favourite in this fight. Some people had him as the favourite. Is different than to being the underdog. Because as I said pre-fight, we all loved the Kambosos of the underdog, the guy who shouldn't be the champion, the sparring partner, the away fighter, the road warrior, all this and that. And it's sort of him trying to change roles of being a champion. Didn't really work, didn't really fit. Especially against elite fighters like Devin Haney. It just came across that all week, and you just saw the two men's attitude. It was like Haney was just like, look, I'm just here just to win the fight. I'm the better fighter. I'm going to win the fight. And that's that. And Kambosos was trying to play mind games and this and that, and didn't work out, did it? Right? So I think he should just go back to the drawing board and be that man who we want to love again. That guy who's going to fight anyone, right? And he's going to be the underdog, because I think that suits him more than being a champion. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes from there. Devin Haney, now, these other fighters have to be calling him out. Like, I don't understand how these elite fighters, especially Tank and, Garcia, I won't say he's an elite fighter, but he gives it the biggin, right? Why aren't you wanting to win belts? Now, this is what I don't understand. Like, Tank Davis's team, I couldn't understand why they never offered Kambosos this fight. Right, okay, I could understand if it was in Australia and they were like, right, you've got to have a rematch. I can understand them not accepting that. But they could have paid for him to come to New York, right, in the Barclays Centre or Madison Square Garden if they really believed in the man. He had the chance to win all the belts. Like, am I missing something here? Do fighters not want to be world champions? I mean, this is a golden opportunity to win an undisputed lightweight championship, right, against a fighter who's not an elite fighter, and no one went near him. I couldn't believe it. I thought the moment that Teofimo fight was over, that Kambosos phone would not stop fucking ringing, right? Everyone, the world and his fucking wife, would want to fight him now to get those belts, but it just never materialised, did it? Let's look at the ones who did step up to the plate. Lomachenko, Devin Haney. They stepped up. Now, obviously, with Loma, with the tragedy in the Ukraine, that wasn't viable. But Devin Haney put his money where his mouth is. He went there. Where was Ryan Garcia? Where was Tank? Where were you? You weren't there, were you? You didn't want to know. You wanted to fight Broly in New York. You didn't want to win those belts. Now, I love Tank. I do. I think he's a special fighter. Right? I love him. Great fighter, right? Could be any of the top names. But I don't understand why his promotional outlet didn't do their best to secure that fight. Because now, if they want the belts, they're going to have to fight Devin Haney. You think they're going to go near him? I don't think they will. And this is what I don't understand about it. Surely you want to be a legitimate world champion. And being an undisputed world champion, I can't understand it. It just goes over. It doesn't register in my head, so I don't understand it. I don't think we'll see Devin Haney in the elite fights. I think they'll stay clear with him. I think they know he's an absolute problem to fight. Don't think they'll go near him. I think Lomachenko will. I think that'd be a fantastic fight to make. Both with top rank. That's the fight to make next. So it'll be interesting. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. Right. Let me know your thoughts. What do you think of the fight? Did Devin Haney impress you? Was it a subpar performance? Was it a masterful display? And who do you think he'll fight next? Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts.